We live in a world that celebrates intelligence. From a young age, we are taught directly and indirectly that being smart is the ultimate advantage. Get good grades, learn faster, think sharper. And if you do all of that, life will reward you. But then something strange happens. Some of the smartest people reach a point where they feel lost. They are busy but unfulfilled. Capable but directionless. Successful on paper but quietly dissatisfied inside. And the confusion that follows is deep. Because intelligence was supposed to be the answer. The truth is, intelligence is powerful, but it is incomplete. Smart people are excellent at gathering information. They can see patterns others miss. They can evaluate options quickly. They can anticipate problems before they arise. And because of this, they often believe that if they just think hard enough, life will eventually make sense. But life does not reward thinking alone. Life rewards meaning. When intelligence is not anchored to purpose, it becomes motion without direction. You move, but you don't arrive. You work harder, but you don't feel closer. You optimize everything, yet something still feels off. Purpose is what gives intelligence its direction. Without it, every decision becomes exhausting. Every choice feels heavy because there is no clear reason guiding it. When you don't know why you're doing something, everything feels equally important and equally draining. Smart people often ask, what's the best option? But a more powerful question is, what aligns with who I am and why I'm here? Without that why, intelligence turns inward. It overanalyzes, it second guesses, it questions every step, and slowly, momentum disappears. Purpose doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it gives uncertainty meaning. When you know why you're doing something, discomfort feels tolerable. Risk feels justified. Sacrifice feels intentional. Without purpose, even success feels empty. Another challenge smart people face is that they are trained to seek efficiency, not fulfillment. They are taught to measure outcomes, not meaning. They chase credentials, titles, and milestones because those things are measurable. But meaning is not always measurable. And that makes it uncomfortable for a logical mind. So they keep collecting achievements, hoping one of them will finally feel like enough. But purpose is not something you achieve, it's something you align with. Smart people often delay decisions because they want clarity first. They want all the information. They want certainty before commitment. But purpose does not come from certainty, it comes from action guided by belief. Clarity follows movement, not the other way around. When you wait to fully understand your purpose before acting, you stay stuck. When you move in the direction of what matters, even imperfectly, purpose becomes clear with every step. Intelligence can tell you what is possible. Purpose tells you what is worth it. And when you lack that sense of worth, even the smartest plans collapse under the weight of doubt. This is why some less intelligent people seem to move forward faster in life. Not because they know more, but because they believe more deeply. They have a reason that pulls them forward. It may not be perfectly articulated, but it's strong enough to guide decisions. Smart people, on the other hand, can articulate 10 reasons not to move. They can see flaws before others even begin. And without a strong why, those flaws become excuses to stay still. Purpose doesn't make you smarter. It makes your intelligence useful. It filters decisions, it simplifies complexity, it turns noise into signal. When you know why you're doing something, you don't need to explore every option. You just need to choose the one that aligns. And alignment is what creates fulfillment. A smart person without purpose feels busy. A smart person with purpose feels grounded. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is direction. Life is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a path to be walked. And no matter how smart you are, if you don't know where you're going, you will eventually feel like you're losing, no matter how far you've gone. Purpose doesn't remove obstacles. It gives obstacles meaning. It reminds you that difficulty is not a sign you're failing. It's often a sign you're moving in the right direction. So intelligence alone will never be enough. Because life doesn't reward the smartest thinkers, it rewards those who know why they move and keep moving anyway. One of the greatest advantages of being smart is the ability to see what others cannot. Patterns, consequences, risks, hidden costs. Intelligence allows you to look ahead and anticipate outcomes before they happen. And on the surface, that sounds like a gift. But in life, that same ability often becomes the very thing that holds smart people back. Smart people don't just see opportunity. They also see everything that could go wrong. They see the failure before the attempt. They see the criticism before the applause. They see the loss before the reward. And because of this, they learn to wait. They wait for the right time. They wait for more information. They wait until the risk feels reasonable. But here's the truth most people don't like to admit. Life doesn't reward those who wait for certainty. Life rewards those who move with courage before certainty arrives. Certainty is comforting, but it is also rare. If you demand it before acting, you will spend most of your life standing still. Intelligence teaches you how to calculate risk. Courage teaches you how to live with it. And the problem for many smart people is not that they are incapable of courage. It's that they overestimate the value of being right. They have been rewarded their entire lives for having the correct answer, for knowing more, for avoiding mistakes. So they begin to associate mista. Case with failure, not growth. In real life, mistakes are not a sign of stupidity. They are a sign of movement. And movement is the only way life changes. Less intelligent people often appear bolder, not because they are fearless, but because they are less attached to being correct. They are willing to look foolish. They are willing to try and adjust. They don't confuse embarrassment with danger. Smart people, however, often protect their identity as the smart one, and that identity becomes fragile. Every action feels like a test. Every risk feels like a threat to who they believe they are. So instead of stepping forward, they think a little longer, they prepare. A little more, they analyze one more angle. And while they are thinking, life is moving. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else matters more than fear. And fear doesn't disappear when you become smarter. It often grows because your imagination becomes more detailed. Smart people imagine failure in high definition. They don't just fear that something might go wrong. They can describe exactly how it will go wrong, who will be disappointed, and what it will cost them emotionally. That level of awareness feels responsible. It feels mature. But awareness without action becomes anxiety. And anxiety does not protect you, it exhausts you. Courage, on the other hand, creates energy. It gives fear somewhere to go. It turns mental noise into forward motion. Another challenge smart people face is that they confuse preparation with progress. Preparation feels safe. It feels productive. It feels controlled. But preparation is still a form of waiting. Life rewards those who start before they feel ready. You don't gain confidence by thinking about action. You gain confidence by surviving action. Confidence is built after the leap, not before it. Smart people often say, I'll act when I'm more confident. But confidence comes from evidence. And evidence comes from action. Courage creates the evidence intelligence needs. There is also a deep misunderstanding among smart people about failure. They believe failure is a verdict. That one bad outcome defines their ability. But failure is not an identity, it's feedback. Life gives feedback, not final judgments. The people who succeed are not those who avoid failure. They are the ones who build a healthy relationship with it. They listen, adjust, and try again. Smart people often want to get it right the first time. Courageous people are willing to get it wrong multiple times. And life favors the second group. Courage doesn't mean recklessness. It doesn't mean ignoring data or acting without thought. It means understanding that no amount of thinking can replace lived experience. There is wisdom you cannot access through intelligence alone. You only gain it by showing up, by risking something, by being uncomfortable long enough to learn. Smart people sometimes underestimate this kind of wisdom because it's C, and not be downloaded, memorized, or predicted. It must be earned. And earning it requires courage. The irony is that the very intelligence that allows smart people to see the future is what convinces them to avoid it. They see potential loss so clearly that they forget to value potential growth. But life is not built by avoiding loss. It is built by choosing meaning over comfort. Courage is what bridges the gap between who you are and who you could become. Intelligence can describe that gap. Courage is what crosses it. So when smart people feel like they're losing at life, it's often not because they lack ability. It's because they've been trained to wait for certainty in a world that only rewards courage. And the moment they stop waiting to feel ready and start moving despite fear is the moment life begins to respond. Because life doesn't ask how smart you are, it asks how brave you are willing to be. Smart people are thinkers. That's what makes them smart. They analyze, reflect, evaluate, and question. They don't rush. They consider consequences. They want to understand before they act. And in many areas of life, that's a strength. But in real life outside exams, theories, and controlled environments, thinking can quietly become a substitute for doing. And when that happens, intelligence stops being an advantage and starts becoming a hiding place. Thinking feels productive. Thinking feels responsible. Thinking feels safe. Action does not. Action exposes you. It creates feedback. It opens you up to judgment, failure, and discomfort. And for smart people who have built an identity around competence, that exposure can feel threatening. So instead of acting, they think some more. They read another book. They watch another video. They wait for one more insight. And all of it feels like progress until months or years pass and nothing has actually changed. Life does not change through insight alone. Insight without action is entertainment. It may inspire you, but it will not transform you. Growth only happens when thinking meets friction. Smart people often believe that once they understand something deeply enough, change will naturally follow. But understanding is not transformation. Awareness is not behavior. Knowing what to do is very different from doing it. You can understand exactly why you're unhappy and still wake up tomorrow and repeat the same habits, because habits are not changed by logic. They are changed by behavior, and behavior requires discomfort. Comfort is another silent trap for smart people. When you are intelligent, you can often build a life that is efficient and stable very early. You find ways to avoid chaos. You design systems that minimize stress, and before you realize it, you're living a life that feels controlled but not alive. Comfort feels like success because it removes pain. But comfort also removes growth. Growth is noisy, it's inefficient. It demands energy and humility. And smart people who value efficiency and control often resist it without realizing they are doing so. They tell themselves they're being patient. They tell themselves they're being strategic. They tell themselves they're waiting for the right moment. But often, they are just choosing comfort over courage. Comfort keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. Life expands only when you are willing to feel awkward, uncertain, and exposed. And intelligence alone cannot carry you through those moments. Only willingness can. Another reason smart people struggle with action is that they want to move when motivation arrives. They wait to feel inspired, confident, or ready. But motivation is not the cause of action, it is the result of it. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. Motivation creates confidence. Smart people often reverse this and wonder why nothing moves. They sit still waiting to feel different, not realizing that feelings follow behavior. You don't act because you feel ready. You feel ready because you've acted enough times to survive discomfort. Growth is built through repetition, not revelation, and repetition requires doing things badly before doing them well. Smart people hate doing things badly. They want to start strong. They want their first attempt to reflect their potential. But life doesn't care about potential, it responds to practice. Every meaningful skill in life is built through imperfect action. Communication, leadership, discipline, confidence, even clarity. You don't think your way to clarity. You act your way into it. Smart people often mistake hesitation for depth. They believe that waiting makes their eventual action more meaningful. But most of the time, waiting just makes fear stronger. Fear grows in silence. Fear shrinks in motion. The longer you delay action, the more powerful your doubts become. They start to sound like reason. They start to feel justified. And soon, doing nothing feels like the smart choice. But doing nothing has a cost. It slowly erodes self-trust. Every time you think about acting and don't, you send yourself a message. I don't trust myself to handle what happens next. Over time, that message becomes an identity. Smart people don't lose at life because they lack answers. They lose because they stop trusting their ability to learn through experience. Life is not a test you pass by thinking correctly. It's a practice you improve through participation. Growth demands that. You step into situations where your intelligence cannot protect you, where you must rely on adaptability, humility, and resilience instead of cleverness, and that's uncomfortable, especially for people who are used to being good at things. But discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that growth is happening. The irony is that once smart people commit to action, once they accept that progress will be messy, their intelligence becomes powerful again. Not as a shield, but as a tool. Intelligence works best in motion. It sharpens through feedback. It matures through experience. Thinking is valuable, but it must serve action, not replace it. Life does not reward those who understand the most. It rewards those who are willing to step into discomfort long enough to change. And the moment smart people stop hiding behind thought and start embracing action, even imperfect action is the moment. Comfort loses its grip and growth begins, because life is not lived in your head. It is lived where action happens. Smart people are often taught a quiet belief: if you are competent enough, everything else will take care of itself. Do good work, be excellent, deliver results, and surely recognition, opportunity, and success will follow. But life doesn't work that way. Life is not a meritocracy of intelligence alone. It is a network of people, and in that network, relationships matter more than raw competence. Many smart people struggle, not because they lack ability, but because they underestimate the human side of success. They believe that logic should win arguments, that skill should speak for itself, that being right should be enough. But people don't follow ideas, they follow people. And people don't commit to what makes sense. They commit to what makes them feel understood, safe, and valued. Smart people are often trained to solve problems, not to read emotions. They focus on efficiency, not empathy. And while that works in systems, it doesn't always work in human beings. Human beings are not logical equations. They are emotional systems. You can have the best idea in the room and still fail to influence anyone if people don't trust you. You can be technically brilliant and still be overlooked if people don't feel connected to you. Trust is not built through intelligence. It is built through consistency, vulnerability, and care. Smart people sometimes mistake clarity for connection. They explain things perfectly and wonder why others don't buy in. But understanding is not agreement. Logic may convince the mind, but trust opens the heart. Life moves at the speed of trust. Opportunities often come from conversations, not qualifications. From recommendations, not resumes. From relationships built over time, not just results delivered once. And this is where smart people can feel deeply frustrated. They do everything right, yet watch others advance faster. People who may be less capable but more connected. That frustration grows when intelligence becomes a barrier to humility. Smart people are used to having answers. They are rewarded for being correct. Over time, this can make it hard to ask for help, admit uncertainty, or truly listen. And without realizing it, they can create distance. People don't open up to perfection. They open up to honesty. Vulnerability is uncomfortable for intelligent people because it feels inefficient. It feels risky. It exposes gaps. But vulnerability is the doorway to trust. When you admit you don't have all the answers, people lean in. When you listen without correcting, people feel respected. When you value someone's perspective, even if it's flawed, you build connection. And connection is what turns ability into influence. Smart people sometimes believe that being correct is more important than being kind. But in life, being kind often opens more doors than being right. Relationships are not built through winning arguments. They are built through understanding perspectives. Another challenge is that smart people often communicate to prove, not to connect. They explain to demonstrate intelligence rather than to create shared understanding. And while the message may be accurate, the delivery can feel distant or intimidating. People don't resist intelligence. They resist feeling small. When someone feels judged, corrected, or outmatched, they disengage. Even if you are right, you lose influence the moment someone stops feeling safe around you. Leadership, friendship, partnership, all of it depends on emotional awareness, on reading the room, on sensing when to speak and when to listen. Intelligence without emotional awareness can isolate you, and isolation over time feels like losing at life. Smart people also underestimate how much people remember how you made them feel. They may forget your words, your credentials, your logic, but they will remember whether they felt respected, heard, and valued in your presence. Life is built on moments of connection, on air trust, on mutual respect. Competence earns you entry, connection earns you loyalty. And loyalty is what sustains success over time. This does not mean smart people need to become less intelligent. It means they need to balance intelligence with empathy, logic with listening, excellence with humility. The most impactful people are not those who dominate with their knowledge, but those who elevate others with their presence. When smart people learn to invest in relationships, to listen deeply, communicate with care, to value people as much as ideas, their intelligence finally has somewhere to land. Because life is not a solo performance, it is a shared experience. And no matter how smart you are, you cannot win at life alone. Success that lasts is built with people, not just ideas. There is a quiet myth that intelligence accelerates everything. That if you are smart enough, you will move faster, rise quicker, and figure life out sooner than everyone else. And in some ways, that's true. Intelligence can give you an early advantage, but life is not a sprint. It's a long, uneven journey. And the people who last are not always the smartest. They are the most consistent. Smart people often believe that big breakthroughs change lives. They wait for the moment when everything clicks. The insight, the opportunity, the perfect plan. And when it arrives, they'll move decisively and win. But life rarely changes in dramatic moments. It changes in quiet repetitions. The habits you keep, the promises you honor, the effort you show up with when no one is watching. Consistency doesn't feel impressive. It doesn't feel intelligent. It feels boring. And boredom is something smart people try to avoid. They want stimulation, complexity, novelty. They enjoy solving new problems, not repeating old disciplines. So they jump from idea to idea, goal to goal, always chasing what's interesting instead of what's necessary. But life doesn't reward excitement. It rewards reliability. Success is not built by doing something extraordinary once. It is built by doing something ordinary extraordinarily well over time. Smart people can often do things quickly, which makes them impatient with repetition. They learn fast and expect results to follow at the same speed. When progress slows, they assume something is wrong, or worse, that they've made the wrong choice. So they pivot too early, they quit too soon. They underestimate the power of staying. Life doesn't reveal its rewards immediately. It tests your commitment first. Consistency is a form of trust. It's life asking, can I rely on you? And intelligence alone does not answer that question. Behavior does. Resilience is another quality smart people often misunderstand. They assume resilience is about strength, but it's really about recovery. It's about showing up again after disappointment, after failure, after boredom. Smart people are good at avoiding mistakes, but avoidance does not build resilience. Exposure does. You don't become resilient by planning perfectly. You become resilient by being knocked down and choosing to stand back up. Life will challenge everyone. The difference is not who struggles, but who continues. Smart people can sometimes interpret struggle as a signal that they are doing something wrong. They believe that if they chose correctly, things should feel easier. But struggle is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of engagement. Nothing meaningful is built without resistance. The people who win in life are not those who never doubt. They are those who keep moving despite doubt. Consistency does not require confidence. It requires commitment. You don't need to believe every day. You need to show up every day. Smart people often want motivation to precede effort, but effort is what creates motivation. When you show up consistently, even on low energy days, you build identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who keeps going. Identity fuels resilience. Another reason smart people struggle with consistency is that they tie their self-worth to outcomes. When results don't appear quickly, they question themselves. They take delay personally, but life operates on a different timeline. Results lag effort. Growth happens underground before it appears above the surface. And consistency is what allows you to stay long enough to see it emerge. Less intelligent people often outperform smarter ones simply because they don't overthink the process. They commit. They repeat. They endure. They don't need brilliance to keep going. They just need discipline. Life does not require genius to reward you. It requires persistence. Resilience also means learning how to fail well, not dramatically, but constructively. It means adjusting without quitting, learning without collapsing. Smart people can sometimes intellectualize failure instead of processing it. They analyze what went wrong, but they don't always rebuild momentum. Resilience is not analysis, it's return. Return to the work, return to the habit, return to the commitment again and again. Over time, consistency compounds. Small actions become large outcomes. Tiny decisions shape identity. What feels insignificant today becomes defining tomorrow. And this is where life separates thinkers from builders. Builders are not always the smartest people in the room. They are the ones who keep laying bricks, even when the structure is incomplete and the progress invisible. Smart people lose at life not because they lack insight, but because they underestimate endurance. Life rewards those who stay, those who remain committed when enthusiasm fades, those who continue when progress is slow, those who choose persistence over perfection. Intelligence may open the door, but consistency is what keeps you inside, and resilience is what allows you to walk through setbacks without turning back. In the end, life doesn't ask how smart you are, it asks how long you're willing. To keep going. And those who answer that question with consistency are the ones who quietly, steadily win. In the end, the truth is simple but not easy to accept. Being smart is not a guarantee of a good life. Intelligence can open doors, solve problems, and create opportunities, but it cannot decide how you live, why you move, or whether you keep going when things get hard. Life does not reward intelligence in isolation. It rewards alignment. Alignment between what you believe and how you act. Alignment between what matters to you and what you commit to every day. Smart people often lose at life not because they lack ability, but because they rely too heavily on their minds, not enough on their courage, their relationships, their discipline, and their resilience. They wait for clarity instead of creating it. They protect comfort instead of choosing growth. They value being right over being connected. They chase insight instead of consistency, and slowly, without realizing it, life passes them by. But this is not a failure. It's an invitation. An invitation to stop asking, what's the smartest move? And start asking, what's the most meaningful one? Because meaning gives direction to intelligence. Purpose gives courage to action. Connection gives depth to success. And consistency gives lifetime to reward your efforts. You don't need to be less smart to win at life. You need to be more human. You need to act before certainty arrives. You need to accept discomfort as the cost of growth. You need to invest in people, not just performance. You need to keep showing up, even when progress is slow and invisible. Life is not built in moments of brilliance. It is built in moments of commitment. The people who win are not those with the highest IQ, the best plans, or the deepest analysis. They are the ones who know why they move, who take responsibility for their choices, who stay when it's hard, and who grow through experience rather than avoiding it. Intelligence is a tool, but tools only work when they are used with intention. When intelligence serves purpose, it becomes powerful. When intelligence is guided by courage, it creates change. When intelligence is balanced with empathy, it builds trust. When intelligence is paired with consistency, it builds a life. So if you're smart and feel stuck, this is not the end of your story. It's the moment you stop thinking your way forward and start living your way there, because life does not ask you to be the smartest person in the room. It asks you to be brave enough to move, humble enough to learn, and committed enough to stay. And when you do that, intelligence finally stops holding you back and starts helping you move forward. That is how you stop losing at life.